what are the imperatives in the face of all these changes that we're seeing? As I see it, there are three broad imperatives. One is the base layer, which is what the schools need to do. The second is the role of the teachers. And the third is the students, how they prepare themselves for sort of an unknown future. Quick word on what schools need to do. I think the school has a very important role to play in terms of reimagining what the workplace is going to be. Remember that if you look at the pace of change in the last 5 years, remember that the students that you're working with, the young generation you're working with, they will be hitting the workplace 15 years from now. Can any of us, honestly, in this room, imagine what the world is going to look like in 2040, 2035? Nobody can. So what is the imperative, therefore? It is that we have to equip every student walking the halls of the school with the ability to have that alt-tab mindset. Sorry, I'll be using some, because of the TED Talk topic, I'll be using similar terms. The ability to shift, the ability to move from one role to the other using the same fundamental edifice of building blocks that the school will provide. Are we geared to do that today? With the experience of having worked with literally 50,000 schools around the country through the company where I serve on the board, I can safely say that we are stuck in a very, very traditional kind of space. Not the fault of schools. I'm not going to talk about what the system or the ministry needs to do, because that's beyond our control. What I will be talking about today are elements that we can control. The second is teachers. While the reimagining needs to be done at the school level to understand how we shape curricula, how we modify our systems of teaching and pedagogy, keeping in mind, A, that students need to give exams and clear exams. It's utopian to believe that, oh, you can forget about exams, we'll just teach you good stuff and you go away with this creative thinking abilities. Unfortunately, the harsh truth is when you go to interview at, in companies, they will want to look at your transcripts. Or you want to study abroad. You want to, go for higher studies anywhere. There's no getting around that. So the school now has a responsibility of dealing with both. It's neither is sufficient, both are necessary. Teachers then come into the forefront. I think the responsibility carried by teachers today is enormous. And the reason I say that is all the shaping of minds, of hearts, happens in the classroom. The teacher is, my wife is a teacher, my daughter is a teacher, so I know the struggles of a teacher. Underappreciated, overworked, and yet they have this huge responsibility of building leaders for the future. A future that, like I said earlier, we don't understand. And the students need to take a very different kind of approach. We've heard a number of speakers talk today about how information is available at the click of a button. There's no need to provide lectures, show up and throw up, content, it's all there. So how do you achieve two things? One is get students to start thinking differently, applying knowledge rather than just rote learning, etc. That's one. And the second thing, which I think people don't talk enough about, which I want to spend a minute on, is how do you make sure that no kid gets left behind? This is something that I routinely encounter when I go around, which is in a class of 50, typically, you have 5 students who probably don't need any coaching, right? They're probably going home, studying in advance, come and raise their hands and provide all the answers. You have maybe 5 or 10 students who have hopelessly fallen behind, for no fault perhaps of theirs, but the fault of the system. And then you have a bunch of people in between, all of whom have different sets of skills, right? Some of them learn better through auditory inputs. They listen, they hear a teacher lecture, and they're able to get it. Others are better with visual aids. If they see something, they see the structure of an atom, someone brings a model along, that helps learning. And the third is kinesthetics, which is actually working with the hands. I have seen students in schools where students who are seen as relatively mid-level performers, you come into a lab and you put a robotics kit in front of them and these kids bloom. Because now it's a different set of inputs that they're getting and they're able to relate to that better. So now the teacher has to figure out how she or he will have to carry along all the 50 students in the classroom. That is unfortunately not possible with business as usual. Unless we adopt a very radical approach to teaching, pedagogy, how we engage with students, we will leave behind vast generations of students. And we think this problem can be addressed and can be licked. Okay, so this is, I think, this has been said before, but it's, worth repeating, so I will spend a minute on it, which is, our traditional models of teaching, classroom, comes from the Industrial Revolution era. It hasn't really changed. Yes, we use some, smart boards, and we use aids like the projector, which didn't exist in our time. We don't use chalk anymore, I think. But fundamentally, it is about showing up, lecturing, providing data, information, expecting the kids to mug it up, and score in their exams. This is going to leave our students, our young students in our schools, hopelessly ill-equipped to deal with the challenges of tomorrow. I see this as an investor, aside from education, I also am involved in several other sectors. Job roles are changing at a pace that is breathtaking. Whether it's manufacturing, services, healthcare, medicine. I was talking to some very senior surgeons last week, and they were telling me that the diagnosis portion of it is already been taken over in a big way by AI and technology. Now surgical interventions is where robotics is playing a role. And some of the senior most surgeons are feeling edged out, saying, wow, maybe in 5-10 years' time, we become redundant. That is the pace at which technology is taking off. I speak with very senior researchers in Microsoft Research, for example, who tell me that the co-pilots that they run out there are stunning, and it continues to stun them. By the way, they're the guys who are creating this product, and it stuns them. So if we are expecting students who are nimble, agile, I'm using all the adjectives that have been used here before by earlier speakers, curious, I think I heard Omkar say that, how do teachers nudge students in the classroom to do that? Again, the past is on the left, which is you have to sort of fill people's heads with stuff. On the right is how do we get students to adopt a different systems approach to problem solving. It's not about knowing a formula. It's not about knowing specific facts about whether it's science or social, the liberal arts. It is about how do you apply that to solve a problem. By the way, you may be trained in solving a problem today. The problem may not exist by the time you get to the workplace because of the pace at which things are changing. I like to give this example of, Google Maps or any Maps application. It kind of handholds you as a one-to-one. It's not a broadcast model in which our schools operate today, which is a teacher comes in and broadcasts to 50 students in the class. Think about Maps, which is, as you make a mistake, it is correcting for you. It's leading you by your nose, by your hands, and tells you that, hey, you made a mistake, let me recalculate, let me turn around. Analogous approach can be, today, again, someone talked about summative assessments. right? We learn in class at the end of the semester or the term, we go and give exams and hopefully we do well. Can we think about doing formative assessments as well? Today, you may not be able to do it because you don't have the bandwidth. You as in the teachers, you simply don't have the bandwidth. So the loop you need to think about if you don't want to leave any kid behind is, teach, that is they learn, they practice, they get assessed. There are remedial inputs if you find that they're weak in one area or the other, and then they master it. The whole idea is to drive students towards mastery of any concept. Once they do that, or they approach mastery, then they can start thinking about applying those concepts to real-world problems. And here again, the role of, imagine the prism which I had in my first slide, the role of the school also becomes important because the school needs to keep one eye on the outside world to see what's happening out there. And there needs to be a constant feedback loop in terms of, do we need to change our pedagogy? Do we need to change the way we are teaching, working with our kids? And feed that back into how your curricula are designed, feed that back into how your teachers are going to work with the kids. I'm going to spend a few minutes on this one, which is technology and in general, and AI specifically, can easily take the mundane stuff out of a teacher's lap. We did a survey a couple of years back and found out that more than 50% of a teacher's time is spent in non-student facing activities. Think setting papers, think bigger, grading papers. I mean, grading 50 answer sheets is no joke, right? You have to consciously do justice to that because the student has worked through the semester and written the exam. You have to spend time looking at each answer book. Attendance, timesheets, and the rest of it, more than 50% of the time. And you have a class where there are 50 students. There's a bell curve, some very smart, some not so smart, and everyone else in between. So without the use of very smart technology, I would submit to you that it is impossible for teachers to change the way they interact with students. It is crucial that that change be brought about to prepare, future-proof our students and prepare them for a future that we don't know. So teachers' role, and this is, I've got a few key words here, but I would urge you to go back and introspect about it because this will not be achieved in a day. It's about mentorship, it's about working with students. Every student's arc of learning is different. I have two kids. My two kids, their arcs of learning were very different. They have the same parents. They live in the same household. If you appreciate that, as I'm sure all of you do, please recognize that one size fits all, one hammer is not going to cut it. You have to approach each student differently. How can you do that? Technology. AI and technology, and we've seen that. We worked with that, with some of these models that are coming up, where a lot of the thinking and the heavy lifting is done by the tech part of it. And then the teacher comes in with the insights that that technology has provided you, then you know exactly how you work with students, unleash their creativity to the points that have been made earlier, their systems thinking approach, understanding what mode of inputs works for different students. Very, very important that the teachers deal with the who, which is the students, and leave the tech to handle the what, which is all the rest of the mundane stuff. Again, more of the same, which is we need to move from content delivery, which we've done over eons, to content personalization, which is easy. I want to show you a video. I want to play a different file for you. But I think that is all a thing of the past. We now need to move to curriculum personalization. Think of the holy grail as being, I've designed this curriculum for student A, and it looks slightly different for student B, and yet different for student C. You may laugh about it when you hear me say that. hey, is it even possible? Is it, are we, is it a pipe dream? Today it is. But if you use the right technologies and we set that as our holy grail, our North Star, our goal, there's no reason this can't be achieved. So to repeat, it serves two objectives. One is it allows the teacher to spend more time with students, preparing them to think differently. Think of teachers as learning designers. Somebody talked about design. You have to now worry about that. It's no longer about covering some portion or some topics, etc. Leave that for tech to do. Learning plans. Teachers need to become more creative themselves. Let me state it. In terms of how you're going to address a class of 50 students, very heterogeneous, right? We've always treated schools, and we've all been through the school system. It's all, designed for homogeneity, right? You've got 50 students, just come in and teach in a particular way. Technology can help you with this journey. And of course, the big question in parents' minds and the students' mind is, yes, sab theek hai, but I need to go out, I need to get the right grades, I need to be able to get into a good school for higher ed, I need to find a job that pays me well. So please understand, it is not one or the other. The approach that I'm talking about will help students achieve that mastery. I talked about it. Learn, practice, assess, remedy, and mastery. And it gives the student the ability to switch, to adapt, the all-tab mindset. The same fundamental blocks of knowledge, of insights that you pick up in school ought to prepare you for a shift in career, solving different problems. I hope to leave you a little bit worried by the end of my talk, which will end in about 30 seconds, but you should. Because again, the burden of responsibility on all you teachers is enormous. There is, as one of my relatives who was also a teacher used to say, teaching is a very difficult profession because you're answerable only to your conscience. Think about it. It's profound. And finally, students. Students have to play their part. Students are smart. So they will know that, hey, if I'm doing this, how is this going to help me, 5, 10, 15 years from now? But they need to be nudged along, and that's where teachers and the school steps in. So it's time to hit that reboot button now. Okay? Jettison the old practices. Don't wait for some messiah to come and say that, the board or the ministry or anyone to come and tell you. All the decision makers are in this room, led by Mrs. Patnaik. So I would urge you to go back, do some serious soul searching. Thank you very much for your attention.